Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat production. It is May 18th. It is episode 66. I'm your host, John A. Costa. And today is Sunday. Hot. Last couple of days it's touched 90, 92, 87, 88. And it's been hot and humid. Today's topic is more about the troubles with the DNC. And it is a continual problem. The DNC is having major issues in finding its footing. They're trying. They just not doing a very good job of getting their point across. And with that, I'm going to go into the wrong one again. I keep moving that button, and I'm going to put it back to where it was because obviously I'm not capable of learning. All right. So I'm looking into my normal camera. Former top leadership and legal advisor Julian Epstein made a remark that the Democrats should stop leaning towards the left to have their statements thrown out into the public arena. So what they're trying to do is saying, I'm gonna just move in here, is let's not air our dirty laundry. And what we really want to do, we can't go out there and start saying it because it's becoming disastrous in the polls. I mean, a 21 or 22% approval rating for the Democrats right now. And even if that was wrong, let's say it's 30% or 35% opinion rating. Do you know how bad that is? Does anyone have an idea of really how bad that really is? It's disastrous. It really is a disastrous number to have. And you just can't win races with that. More importantly, it's hard to raise money. And for any political organization, be it a Republican or being Democrat or progressive or an independent, you need money. And it's going to be very hard for the Democrats to secure money in the short term, leading up to 2026. And how the strategy is, basically, and Schumer has said this, but he doesn't abide by it either. Just shut up. Stop talking. Because if you talk, someone's going to record it and it's going to get played back or scrutinized. Let the other team do all the yakking and talking, and then we could tear that apart. So the Democrats are really in trouble. They're floundering. It's been 7 months since the election. And they have not found their footing yet. They honestly drank their own Kool-Aid when they said we're going to win this, we're taking it, we're going to have another 2 elections. We're gonna do it, and they believed their own lies. Their polling numbers were not really what they should be. They went to people and said, just give us polling numbers in our favor. And it didn't reflect what was really the sentiment of the majority of the voters. And, when I hear the liberals and the media saying, Trump didn't win a majority. Yeah, no, he did win a majority. That's how he became president. Well, he only took 48% of the people. No, he took 48% of the votes that were needed to win, which gave him the majority. He took the majority of the Electoral College votes. So, liberals, the same thing you told the Republicans and MAGA, hey, accept it. You lost. Well, you guys lost. And you have to really look at why you lost. And you lost because of your constant attack on one another. You just look at Pete Buttigieg. I mean, the guy never once went to his boss's defense. No loyalty whatsoever. He really did keep his mouth shut. He also kept a very low profile, didn't do his job. This guy should never be a spokesman for anyone. Maybe for Preparation H. But that's about it. He's useless. Always was, always will be. Beta O'Rourke, or another one, loser. Get rid of him. Stop going to has-beens that weren't really even has-beens. They didn't accomplish what they set out to do. So Democrats have to get away from this. We're attacking the man. It's the man. You got to get away from that. You got to start putting facts up there. You have a Bruce Springsteen, which has every right to get up there and scream about whatever he wants to scream about. But when he says that, it's in my home, they're persecuting people for their right to free speech and violating their dissent. No, they're not. No, they're not. Who was arrested for saying free speech? Where did this happen? This is happening now. Can you show us where this is happening, Bruce? Can you show your audience that's there for a live performance of a show? Can you show us that? Because no one's being arrested for free speech. People are being arrested for hate speech, which your party created. Your party created it. And now you got to live with it because it goes both ways. And we now are having courts going, well, yeah, hate speech is hate speech. Oh, no, hate speech was only against white people saying it against black people. Because that's where it all started, folks. And yeah, I was fine with that. You can't go out there screaming, burn their houses down or do anything like that or blow up churches and, hurt people for exercising their right. I'm all on board with that. Always have been and always will be on board on the free speech as long as it's not hate. You have a right to be a dissident. You will get called out on your facts, and you have the right to a legal protest by all means. It doesn't mean you can trespass. It doesn't mean you cannot, you can't, you don't have to listen to the lawful commands of the police. So, you have Bruce out there saying the richest men are taking satisfaction in abandoning the world's poorest children to sickness and death. Are you one of them, Bruce? Because at about what, $300 a ticket to see you? Are you taking that money and sending it to the world's poorest and hungriest and sickest? Or are you making investments with that? Or you're just putting it in your mattress? What are you doing with your riches? Because if you're going to call out others, people are going to call you out. The old saying, people in glass houses. All right. They're saying they're taking sadistic pleasure in the pain they inflict on loyal American workers. Really? How much you pay your roadies? You don't try to set to the highest profit point that you could make? Which you sure seem to do that at the gates to get into one of your shows. So, this guy should stick to his bad music and stay out of the political arena. I mean, not that he cares anymore, but you're not irrelevant. If you think that's going to get more people to your show, and good luck with you. So, an opinion piece from The Hill. Not a big fan of The Hill. And they go both ways. They're Trump, they're Democrats, so they do it, but I'm not a big fan of The Hill. 7 months after Trump redefined how to win a presidential campaign. He didn't redefine anything. There was no redefinition. Not a word changed in the Constitution. Not a word changed in any law. So the idea that he didn't redefine, he won. Because his message got across. And people go, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to go with common sense with this one. So The Hill is saying that letting the far left is going to take them out of 2028. My one-word response to that is, duh. What do you think? You're letting your Bernie Sanders from Vermont a state that has as many people as most large counties do in America. But he's voted. He's elected by the people. I have no problem with that. That's what they want. They want a Bernie Sanders as an independent. And you have your AOC from New York out there joining hands with him. And, the dynamic duo. And she's from New York, from a district in New York that is overrun with prostitution, drugs, illegals, crime. That would make any normal person who is a voter go, what is she doing? What has she done in her 2 terms now or whatever to get elected or to be a national spokesperson? She's the last person I would have speak. It would be like having P. Diddy speak at a women's conference on abuse. Let that sink in for a second. I know some of you Democrats need some help. I want you to think about that. And, hey, Bob, I've been trying to reach you. So reach out to me, please. The left is trying its best to stay relevant, to be out there and going, we warned you about Trump. We warned you he would do all that and cut the government spending down and look for corruption. We warned you he would do that. All that's. I'm guessing that's why the people voted for him. Yeah, we have to say something else about him. Because President Trump is doing everything he said he was going to do. Not a misstep in there, folks. And is he breaking the law? No. What he is doing is, as brother Don pointed out to me, is he is looking for the limits of executive power. The executive power has always been there, but again, no one has ever pushed them. And he is pushing them. But when you look at the wording, and I'll get into that in a second about a court action that is huge, that I've said this before, there are no limits in executive power. An executive order, there are no limits, except those in the Constitution that then can be challenged. And I said this before, that there are some limits in there that he wants challenged that, good luck to you. Good luck to you. If you could figure out a way to do that. But I don't. It's like taking lead and turning it into gold. You have people try to do it, and it just can't be done. So I said there was 80% of the things that Trump will want to do inside the Constitution, he'll be able to do because Congress hasn't done their job. And of course, that goes Republican and Democrat controlled. I call them as I see them, folks. But there are things that he can't do. And, he'll go out there, yeah, I tried to do it. But that pesky Constitution keeps getting in the way. Well, that's what that piece of paper is there for. And me being a Federalist, my thing is, if it's allowed in the Constitution, who am I to stop you? And if the majority of the people are so upset about what's going on, then find a candidate that is electable, that supports your agenda, and support them. Get the vote out for them. Now, if you can't, or you won't, the Republicans did a great job on getting the vote out and keeping the vote out there going. I mean, I'm telling you, the GOP and people are just chomping at the bit to vote again. And the Democrats are not even spinning their wheels. The wheels are off they wish they had wheels to spin. The wheels are off the cart. It's laying there, crumpled on its side. No one knows how to lift it up. They argue with one another on the best way to lift it up. And then, let's redefine the wheel. We'll make them square. Yeah, so huge troubles with Democrats. And again, if they continue on their path of their misguided ideology, they're gone. They're gone. And I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it up to the 2026 midterms. If you guys can't maintain what you have in 2026, meaning right now the status quo, you just keep the status quo. You know you're not going to get any more, but you don't want to lose any more. If you lose 3 seats anywhere in the federal realm, and that's senators and Congress people, not state senators or state congressmen or governors, or where it really does matter for a state is legislators. Legislators, that's how you get things done in your state. But if you lose that ground to that, 2028 is not going to be your year either. And you see people lining up already, for their chance to be heard on 2028. Big problems with the Democrats. Democratic Rep. Kahana said it was a mistake for President Biden to run for a second term. No, it wasn't Biden's mistake. It was your party's mistake. And it was people like you who supported Biden and supported the pick blindly. This guy supported Biden. And now, of course, well, it was a mistake. Well, no shit, Sherlock. And you were told. The Republicans even told you. President Trump even told you. Sleepy Joe ain't the guy. You want to run him? Sure, have at it. Yeah. Yeah. James Comey. What about that, folks? 86-47. Thought it was a basketball score. Absolutely despicable. Could be even considered criminal. And I'll say why. And I'll use an example. Because I like using facts. Not like The View. This is news with a view, where I demand that I, the one employee, only use facts. And if the facts show that a Republican did something wrong, I'm going to say it. If the facts show a Democrat did something wrong, I'm going to say it. If I don't know what your political leaning is and you made a comment and it's wrong or it's criminal, I'm going to call it out. Now, only on things that I think affect, the general citizens, And I'm just going to skew off here for a second just so I could clarify what I just said. P. Diddy holding freak-offs didn't affect me at all. Never fell into my life. Never affected, people's rights in the whole of it, rights where it was going to change anything. So his alleged criminal activity, I'm not going to report or really talk about much except in jokes. But it doesn't affect you or me or our future. So, but Comey making a threat against the president, and they go, well, it wasn't really what does 47 mean? Ask the military when they go, we're going to 86 someone. Ask the codes for that, because there are military codes that they can use to signify. Bravo Sierra. Means bullshit. Whiskey Foxtrot Tango. WTF. So when they say, well, people don't know that. No, people know it. And they know what it means. And Comey knew exactly what he was saying when he said that. And that's what makes it dangerous, because he knows there are people that are not balanced mentally that will look at that and go, oh, I know what I should do now. I'm looking at how white my arms are underneath my shirt. I gotta start wearing the old, what do they call, wife beater shirts. But then I'll get all sunburned and I don't feel comfortable. So Comey knew exactly what he said and what could possibly be the outcome. Because liberals, haven't you taught us words matter? Don't words matter? I'm not a person that likes the government making people examples. But an inmate in Green Bay, Wisconsin, accused of threatening to cut Donald Trump's body into small chunks, has had a cash bond set at $50,000. 39-year-old William McDougal, was charged with multiple counts of making terrorist threats in addition to other charges. And this is back in August of 2024. The Wisconsin Department of Justice got a handwritten letter from an inmate at the Green Bay Correctional Institution. So they had proof that he wrote such a letter. Now, he was much more exacting in what he had said he wanted to do. But 8647 has the same thing, the same threat, but put into a number, not a word. And is there a difference if I kill someone with a hammer or I kill them with kindness? What is the optimum word? Kill. So James Comey should be charged. And I would like to see him have to go to court, open up his bank account, and pay for lawyers to defend him. I apologize for that noise in the back. That is my wonderful air conditioning system kicking in because it is hot. And it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And even though they're telling us to conserve electricity and charging us a ridiculous hourly fee for it, I don't want to be sweating. So there is a point where you can say those two are the same thing. It is the same threat. One used words, one used numbers. Numbers can be transcribed and understood to be words. Comey should be charged. He should have to defend his action. And he's allowed a defense. I was only kidding. That's not what I meant. 86 just means remove, get rid of, dump. And then when he will be asked, has anyone used those terms when you were in the FBI, where the FBI charged them for that? because that is then vetted. And guess what? There have been. Now, the FBI, I'm sorry, the Secret Service can go, yeah, all right, the guy's a jerk. We know that, you know. And he can come back and go, that's not what I meant. I pulled the post down. I apologize. You know, no. No. You put it out there. You stood proud next to it. You said it wasn't a mistake. You put it up. Were you drunk? Were you on the influence of a prescribed medication that maybe you didn't realize? Poor judgment. But you should be charged. And then you can have a federal judge go, well, no, we're going to dismiss the charges. We don't think it elevated up to that point. But he should have to do that. And he should have to spend about $300,000 or $400,000 or whatever he's going to make in his book deal that he just came out with. That this was all about. And maybe that's what should happen, huh? See how that works? Yeah. Payback. You don't like to think about it and you go, well, that's not fair play. Yeah, well. Neither what he did to General Flynn and what his FBI did to Trump with him knowing it and not doing anything to go, hey, yeah, guys, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not getting into that arena. No, sorry. You lose, Comey. All right. The other thing I'm going to touch up into is the courts allow Trump, and it's not Trump, it's his administration, but the court allows Trump to stop collective bargaining for thousands of federal workers. Now, as many of you all know, I am a big labor guy. I believe in unions. I represented a union. I represented members. I've walked picket lines. I've done it. I was an officer in the IBEW. My little flag over there. I believe in unions. But inside these little laws of the federal government, there is a carve-out that the federal government is allowed to suspend a contract. They can do that. They weren't allowed, you know, it's such legalese ground. But it is my belief that they had every right to suspend and they say stop collective bargaining, and I just say suspend a collective bargaining of people. It's been done before, just so you know. You say not. I'm reaching back to an incident that happened during World War II, and I think it had to do with the coal miners who had threatened to go out on strike or did, or the train engineers or something, but it was all tied in together. And the government said, we'll just move the military into and train engineers. We have train engineers. We'll keep this going. You're not going to hamper us because we're at a war that you're going to say we want more from you or from an employer, because the employers during World War II had what was called cost plus contracts. So we're going to make $100,000 on every airplane we sell you. But if today it costs $200,000 to make that airplane, and we're going to sell it to you for $300,000, because we're going to make $100,000 on every one, no matter what. Cost plus. Now those, because the workers now, that's going to be $275,000 plus the $100,000, and the government agreed to these things. And one of the most famous ones that many of you folks out there might remember is the air traffic controller strike. They had a union, they had collective bargaining, they had, and he said, no, I'll fire you. No, you can't do that. Yeah, he did it. It held up. But that was a strike situation, because under the terms of their agreement, they had a no strike clause. And that was a bad call back in the day. A very, very bad call on the part of the air traffic controllers union. So, but under this one, he can now go to federal employees. And you got to remember, the air traffic controllers were federal employees too. But this is a little bit more broad. And I've been, when it was up and happening, I don't know if it's a clause like 7605 or 1705 or 1706 and management rights, where this gets real mumbo jumbo legal. I'll have to go back to that this evening and do what I did not do it with this one. I just said that in a Court of Appeals hearing in the District of Columbia wrote in a 2-1 ruling. The government is likely to prevail in its appeal of the district court's preliminary injunctions to obtain a preliminary injunction. A plaintiff must demonstrate that it will suffer irreparable harm while the case is pending. The National Treasury Employees Union failed to establish irreparable harms. So, the union did not do a good enough job in the appeal process to go, we're going to get irreparable harm here. If we don't have members, we don't have a union. And the courts probably said, so every union member is being fired? Well, no. How many people do you need to have a union? Well, there is a number. So, do you meet that number? Are there going to be that many there left? Well, yeah. Well, when it goes under that number, feel free to refile it. Now, the union can now take this up the steps. Just like I said, anyone can. But I'm going to say that another court will look and go, no, they got it right. So it stops. Bing. Can't go up any. It stops. You're done. And I think that is what's going to happen. And I said before that there are cases where Trump will win. And there are cases where Trump will lose. And if you go back to the episodes, and I really have to cataloging everything and going, well, this is what I predicted. I don't. And I said Trump was going to win this one. This was one that he was going to win. Because you're not dealing with the private sector, you're dealing with the federal sector. And the federal sector wields a much more heavier stick than the private sector. Because you have to go through the National Labor Relations Board, which the president is also kind of gutting. So it is very hard times for unions in the sense of being a federal employee. And inside the makeup of management rights, they can lay off anyone they want. Theoretically, the president can't do that. The acting heads of the departments that he puts in charge there can do that. But let's say he got rid of all the heads of those departments. Well, he becomes the de facto head. And that was part of the problem, too, that in certain instances, and I said this, that he did not act according to what was the standard for dismissing some of these people and giving 30 days notice and then saying why you are, and then it went to the Senate or Congress looks at it. But there are reasons that a president can outright fire someone, and there's and he could say ineffectiveness. And if he can prove through Doge that there was corruption to the point where a reasonable person should have known something was wrong, well, you're not effective at your job. And that's why he was going to win those cases too. Because he can prove it. Facts matter. Facts. The old saying, get your ducks lined up. And then you have other people saying, line up your ducks and I'll shoot them down one by one. It makes it easier. But then you got to do that. And if your facts are the facts, you can shoot. Just might not hit the target you're shooting at. So, lots of stuff going on with that. Another thing about some interesting stuff. CNN chief analyst Brian Seltzer was called out Thursday for promoting his colleagues, former colleague, Jack Tripper's book about the cover-up of former President Joe Biden's cognitive decline. He was pushing that book and story and everything, even though after ignoring the story himself, both of the CNN ignored the whole story. So you have the media now saying, well, Joe was, But you also have that same media go, yeah, we knew it too, but we didn't report it. And you have a media out there that is totally, totally corrupt. And the people screaming, Trump, he's taking a $400 million airplane and he's going to fly away with it. No, he's going to accept that gift from one country to the people of our country. He's not taking control of it. And people, it's going to cost so much money to upgrade it. No more money than it takes to upgrade a 747. Air Force One will be totally stripped down to its airframe and inspected and made sure that it's airworthy, that there's no problems with it. Things need to be changed in Air Force One or Air Force Two to the government specification for security. It does that when it takes a plane from and uses it for diplomatic purposes. So the idea that this is, something new or, unheard of, it's not. It's not. And I said this too in another post. We accepted gifts from former enemies. Took the Statue of Liberty from the French. We had a little fight with them. Even though they helped us in our cause for freedom. Just about 10 years later, what was it, 1790? So, the idea of accepting a gift in the name of the people of the United States. Now, did anyone give a $400 million gift? Nope. Not that I'm aware of. But the dollar amount, there is no dollar set limit that just says you can't accept a gift personally. And he wasn't taking the gift personally. It was like, yeah, great. Put it right next to my Trump airplane. He wasn't doing that. And the media jumped all over it and made it sound like that. And he never did that. He never said he was personally taking it. Now, if they wanted to give that to the Trump family, yeah, that would be unusual. And I might say, I would stretch that as far as saying that needs Congress to look at that. But as far as I know, that's not the case. That's being given to the president as a gift to the people of the United States. So, again, liberals, Republicans, Schumer, what an idiot. Really, Chuck. If you were a jar in my refrigerator, I'd throw you out for being expired or past its best used date. You are not relevant. You gotta go. Pelosi, Waters, Schiff. Schiff, what a piece of crap. How some of these people keep getting elected. AOC, And, you know, I got some major problems with that. But with that, I'm going to say good night. And this will go up later on this evening. Give to a charity if you can give it to a charity. Give to a food bank. We're doing that tomorrow. And Danielle, Paul, Chris, Rowan, Cannoli, good night. And I'll talk to you later. And with that, I'm going to fade to black.